This is Atomic Heart, Condensed. You play as Major Sergei Alexeyevich Nechayev, also going by the codename P3. You suffered from a lethal injury that gave you multiple broken bones and a severe concussion. A scientist by the name Dmitry Sechenov treated you back to health, but most of your memories were lost. You were given multiple implants and a special glove equipped with an AI named Charles. Feeling indebted to Sechenov, you became his personal secret agent. In this alternate timeline, Nazi Germany released the Brown Plague as a last resort during World War II, and millions of people died. But the Soviet Union ended up winning the war with their technological prowess and started to mass-produce worker robots because of the labor shortage. Sechenov created neuropolymer, a substance that's pretty much liquid hard drive. He found a way to implant polymer into humans, granting them knowledge and the ability to control robots with their mind. Sechenov developed a neural network known as Collective, which linked the robots together, making their control more efficient. So that's enough background info. The game starts with you on a boat ride.
The Chelomey complex was built from the ground up to be the ideal comfortable workplace.
Can it, Glove? I've been here before.
Welcome to Facility 3826, a scientific research hub. The year is 1955, at the height of the Soviet Union's power. People are enjoying the many amenities and services provided by the robots. The festivities taking place are to celebrate the launch of Collective 2.0, which would supposedly grant humans even greater control over the robots. You meet with a Tereshkova robot, and she gives you a capsule that equips your glove with a scanner.
Extend your thumb and index finger to form a right angle to activate the scanner.
Demon, be gone!
You head on over to Sechenov's office where you meet the ballerina twins and they give you a vehicle activation code.
The vehicle is waiting downstairs. You should hurry. You don't have much time.
Sechenov tells you to go to the Vavilov complex where you should receive another glove upgrade. You get inside a car and a bot takes you straight up into the air, flying to your destination. While en route, a drone shoots your car down.
You have reached your destination. You are now at Laboratory 8 of the Vavilov Principal Ground Facilities.
A Tereshkova robot helps you out of the car and escorts you to an elevator.
What the hell are you doing, you lousy bot?
Somehow, all the robots have switched to combat mode and are now hostile to all humans. But the Tereshkova models aren't hostile because they're not connected to the collective network. While the elevator's in the air, the Tereshkova robot gets sucked into a drone's turbines and you crash land. You wake up later and the place has gone to hell. Sechenov tells you about Viktor Petrov, the man responsible for sabotaging the collective network and causing the robots to turn hostile.
Your mission is to find him and bring him to me, alive.
Copy that, sir.
And so, Charles tells you to go to the underground complex to find Petrov. While being attacked by a robot, Granny Zena comes to the rescue.
What are you gawking at? Almost choked to death there.
Who are you?
Me? Zena. Granny Zena.
A Chela drone spots the two of you, and a bunch of drones start attacking. A giant robot drops in, and you're pushed into an elevator, rapidly falling to the underground complex. You explore the underground lab, and Charles tells you more about Petrov.
How'd this Petrov guy manage to hack Collective?
The traitor wasn't working alone. He was conspiring with several others. They have already been eliminated. But it will be impossible to get to Petrov without your assistance.
As you're exploring, a giant excavator bot breaks through several floors, knocking you out in the process. You regain consciousness and meet Larissa Filatova, a neurosurgeon.
How many fingers?
4.
Great, now get up. I need your help.
While Filatova is treating a patient, a lab tech robot comes by and wreaks havoc.
I don't want to die!
So you defeat the bot and continue onwards. You run into Nora, a horny vending machine that tries to kill you with her tendrils.
Let me tie you to the bed, baby. No need to fight back, sugar. You're gonna love this.
But Charles manages to hack her, and she's now at your service.
Anything for my master? What can I do for you?
She can create weapons, upgrade your glove, and store various materials for you. Continuing on your search for Petrov, you make it into a tunnel where cable cars are zooming around. You find a corpse that's somehow still talking.
They won't go. No, won't go without the schematic.
Charles explains that the polymer that's implanted in the body carries memories, which can communicate even after the person's death. The corpse says where you can find a schematic to help you proceed. You carry on until your path is blocked by a laser wall. Luckily, Nora happens to be there, and she gives you an upgrade that can protect you as you run past the laser.
Crap! That hurt!
You finally find Petrov, and he's on a call with Filatova.
Larissa, did you talk to him? Well, you should have. It would have saved us a whole lot of trouble.
They're dating, by the way. You show yourself to Petrov and have him at gunpoint, but he manages to slip away.
Intrusion. Huh? Intrusion.
Warning.
Hey, freeze!
Warning.
Damn it.
Red alert. Lockdown in progress.
You go around looking for canisters to power up the polymer-based power generator in order to open a gate to move forward. You eventually find Petrov's headless corpse.
According to biometric readings, This is Patrol.
It is? Crispy critters.
He's not actually dead, you'll see him later. As you're looking for more canisters, you come across some mutants. Simply put, they're pretty much plant zombies. As you're exploring a polymer processing plant, you find a room with various livestock, and you find out how polymer is manufactured.
Holy fuck. Did I just kill all of them?
It's standard to the manufacturing process. It's where the polymer's organic components come from.
Charles explains how the scientists in these labs had plans to terraform the solar system. They were researching how to grow crops and raise livestock on different planets. As you enter the pesticide workshop, you're warmly greeted by a scientist.
Shit! Are you off your nut? Is this some kind of joke?
There's a giant botanical monster that's sleeping, and the scientist wants your help to destroy it. You direct a container full of pesticide and ram it right into the monster.
Die, you prick! We gotta run before it... Hang on!
As the monster goes up in flames, it releases a swarm of sprouts, and one of them infect the scientist.
Get it off me! Hang on, buddy.
He's mutated!
No shit, Sherlock.
And so you're forced to kill him. After all the canisters are plugged in, the tree's back to normal, and you leave the Vavilov complex. You make it outside, and the entire area is swarming with robots. Granny Xena gets in touch and says to meet up with her, and so she shows up in her rocket-propelled hut.
About time.
Granny Xena invites you inside, and the two of you watch a court hearing between Sechenov and the Politburo.
There's nothing to worry
Corrected
about.
or not, our American friends are likely to find out about this outrageous incident.
Sechenov is trying to downplay the situation in Facility 3826, saying that's already been taken care of. Yegor Molotov, one of the members of the Politburo, isn't convinced, however.
Do you even realize that if the Americans find out that your robots can be switched to combat mode, I guarantee your project will be dead in the water?
Molotov announces that he will arrive at the facility to see what's really going on. After the court hearing is done, Granny Xena gives you a blueprint for a weapon and sends you on your way. You're ordered to head to the VDNH to intercept Molotov. You get on a train, but the robot conductor won't depart until you get a valid ticket. You take some train tickets from polymerized corpses, but the conductor rejects them. But the conductor determines that you're a law enforcement officer and departs anyhow.
It is obvious that you are allowed to travel free of charge under the current circumstances.
Are you serious?
While the train is rolling, a giant robot comes and derails the train.
Solnechnaya station. Next stop.
You bump into Michael Stockhausen, a German scientist working with Sechenov, and he gives you a little robot spider. A lab-tech robot starts attacking, and Stockhausen runs off on his own. Using a flying apparatus called the Hawk, you ride a zipline into a field where you encounter a Hawk 7 Hedgie robot.
Be careful. Hawk 7 units are quite dangerous.
Oh, come on, it's freaking adorable.
You destroy it and continue onwards to the VDNH. The door's mechanism at the entrance is jammed, so you head to the basement. While going through the basement, Charles explains that Sechenov and the Politburo are engaged in a power struggle over who will control Collective.
Comrades Sechenov and Molotov both have something to gain from preventing information about this terrible malfunction becoming known to the rest of the world.
The polymerization of everyone in the Soviet Union and eventually the entire world would theoretically unite mankind into a shared mind, but those in a leadership position would still have special power over ordinary citizens. And so Molotov wants to take the Alpha Connector from Sechenov, which would give him the power to assign leadership at his own discretion. You open up the entrance of the exhibition and find a malfunctioning Tereshkova with missing limbs.
How do I open the door?
The line can be opened with my multi.
You find her arm and use it as a key to open the gate to the exhibition. Another Tereshkova robot named Yulia greets you at the front desk.
Thank you for coming to my aid. The grotesque dissonance between my behavior and the gruesome surroundings grosses me out. But there's nothing I can do about it.
Yulia makes you go through a CAPTCHA test to prove that you're a human, which entails finding a potted plant, a hammer, and a radio. After you prove that you're human, you ask Yulia to activate the building's drill mode, but she needs another Tereshkova to do so. Yulia asks you to find her friend Claire and reattach her body parts to get her back in working order. As Yulia escorts you down the hall, she stops to roast the display robots.
But you, how do you use the arms our creators have given you? Like a primitive animal, like a beast. Have you no shame, robot? Publicly exposing your iridium compactor. You're not even a machine, you nitwit. You're just an imitation, a caricature, a piece of lab equipment. Oh, who's the good boy? Who's the sweetest, silliest, chubbiest little boy? You little goof.
After she's given administrator level rights, Yulia opens the doors and stays behind, offering guidance through the radio. You go around looking for Claire's limbs, each one being quite a chore to retrieve. When all of Claire's body parts are reattached, she initiates the drill sequence with Yulia.
Initiating BD&H mode of operational change. New mode, military drill.
But too late, Molotov makes it into the building along with Stockhausen.
Greetings, Comrade Molotov.
Your local malfunction is actually a worldwide catastrophe.
Molotov's suspicions were proved correct, and he threatens to shut down the launch of Collective 2.0, but he agrees to meet Sechenov in person so they can have a discussion. All of a sudden, you black out and you're transported to Limbo.
Come to me.
In this whimsical dreamscape, you're going through a battle frozen in time.
Wake up, my love.
You wake up to the real world and find Sechenov and the ballerina twins. Molotov and his entire platoon were massacred, which Sechenov speculates was a robot ambush. The twins carry Molotov's body away and begin some kind of dance ritual. So, Molotov's body is encased by a humanoid figure made of red polymer, and it absorbs his body tissue, leaving behind his bones and clothes.
What was that? A tribute to the departed.
Stockhausen receives word that Petrov is still alive and is leaking information to America. How did Petrov survive a beheading, you ask? This is never explained, but anyway, Sechenov orders you to track him down. You find Petrov at Filatova at a research center.
Look what we have here.
Petrov knocks you out with a taser, and you wake up restrained to a table. You bring up the fact that the robots have been attacking everyone except for Petrov and Filatova.
Why is that, if you're not controlling them?
You said you had nothing to do with this.
Filatova feels betrayed by this revelation, so she runs off. Petrov considers bonking you with a chair, but decides to go after Filatova. Your tiny robot spider frees you from your restraints, and you track down Petrov. After you deal with the Belyash robot near the entrance, you make it inside the Plisetskaya theater. This theater showcases the world's first robotic ballerina dancers. Charles explains that the robot ballerinas here offer other services as well.
The topic of robosexuality is extremely popular among the Soviet elite. In other words, the ballerinas are not just ballerinas.
As you roam the theater, Petrov yells at you through the loudspeaker.
Do you want to see the same scenes repeated all around us?
You can tell that he's completely gone off his rocker, but some of the things he says about Collective plant a seed of doubt in your mind.
Could Collective really be dangerous?
Of course not. Only its owner can be dangerous.
You find Petrov on a stage as he's dancing. He explains that Sechenov's plan with Collective 2.0 is to start with something horrible.
Collective will activate, and that's the end of everything. But I can assure you that Sechenov's plans are far worse than this. And he has to be stopped!
Bullshit!
He throws you a pair of beta rings and commits suicide.
No! Shit!
You update Sechenov on the situation, and he asks you to keep Petrov's head so that his memories can be extracted. But before you leave, a Natasha robot rolls in. You defeat the robot, and Sechenov calls you again, asking if you have the beta rings from Petrov, and you lied to him, saying you didn't find them.
No, sir. Petrov didn't have anything on him.
On your way out of the theater, Stockhausen also asks about the beta rings, but you say you don't have them. Even Granny Zena asks about the rings, and you lie to her also. You have a conversation with Charles, and come to the conclusion that all the robots were meant for combat from the very beginning. Charles also explains that the beta rings will make its users independent from Collective, but still be aware of everything that happens inside of it. You come to understand that the Atomic Heart project is a plan to distribute Soviet robots across the globe. America being the top priority, of course.
So the Soviet government wants there to be as many of our civilian robots in the US as possible when they activate combat mode.
You make it into the Pavlov complex, a place where they breed new species of farm animals and develop space exploration technology. You get to see a few polymer endoskeletons, which are designed for animals to survive in the solar system's various hostile environments. You eventually find Stockhausen with the ballerina twins, and you hand over Petrov's head.
We don't have to lose all of Petrov's knowledge.
While Petrov's memories are getting extracted, Filatova pops in out of nowhere and tosses a grenade, killing Stockhausen.
Grenade!
You're knocked unconscious and dream of Limbo again. While roaming the dreamscape, you recall a conversation you had with Sechenov.
A monster in the dark behaves predictably. It can be studied. A monster in the light wears a mask. It is therefore unpredictable.
You wake up and find Stockhausen's remains. The rest of his body was absorbed by polymer. Filatova calls and tells you to head to the Academy of Consequences, where she says you will find out the truth behind Collective 2.0.
You need need to see it with your own eyes or you're not gonna believe it.
You head towards the lighthouse, and a dewdrop robot pops out from a dead whale. After you destroy it, Charles urges you to get rid of the beta rings, saying that they would be dangerous in the wrong hands. So you throw them into the ocean. Sechenov calls and says that the combat mode for all the robots have finally been disabled. He congratulates you for the completed mission and asks you to return. However, you're curious about what Filatova wanted to show, so you continue on to meet with her. Inside the lighthouse, you sit down on a chair and an elevator takes you underwater.
So that's Neptune, huh? Looks nice. Actually, it looks amazing. A rapture.
When you reach the bottom, you meet with Filatova, who's determined to show you the truth. In the facility, you're greeted with quite a morbid display. All of these test subjects' minds are in limbo, just like you were. They're all perfectly happy, but completely robbed of their free will.
Want me to make them do something?
Why?
To show that I'm not lying?
Whatever. Line them up.
Why don't I make them all jump? After all, we all live in a communist society. Goddamn you, jump!
So that's what Collective 2.0 would do to everyone that's polymerized. It would turn them into mind-controlled puppets. You start to hallucinate, seeing lights in your vision and hearing a woman's voice.
Resist, my darling, resist.
Filatova says that this is a side effect of the neuropolymer implant in your damaged brain. Charles starts talking, and Filatova has a sudden realization about him. Turns out, Charles was never an AI. He's actually the polymerized mind of Cheriton Zakharov, Sechenov's fellow researcher.
Professor Zakharov was developing the collective subsystems and worked on the module. I had no idea Sechenov had stashed his consciousness into your glove.
With his security clearance, you're granted access to the lab's archives. Through film reels, you find out what Sechenov really did to you. In the past, after a mission gone wrong, your limbs were nearly destroyed and you suffer from severe head trauma. Because of your brain damage, you would periodically go insane and become extremely violent to everyone around you. During these bouts, your mind would go to limbo, which is theorized to be a defense mechanism. Apparently, you used to be married, but Sechenov wiped out memories of your wife with an implant.
The boss would never do this to me.
Yeah, right. Just like he'd never wipe your wife's existence from your memory. Just like he'd never design Collective to be a mind control system.
As you wait for an elevator headed to the surface, you confront Charles with everything that's been revealed to you.
You're just as much a Charlist to me as I am a perfect stranger to you. First, Sechenov murdered me. Then he turned me into a blob of polymer goo. Then he brainwashed you and manipulated you. How could I trust either of you? That's why I pretended to be the chatting artificial librarian. I wanted to see who was who.
He shares what he knows about Ekaterina, your late wife.
You and your wife served with the Argentum unit. Ekaterina, or Katya as you called her, was a highly qualified agent.
She was also gravely injured in the same mission you were in. Sechenov couldn't save Ekaterina's consciousness, but he was able to upload her professional skills into 2 robots.
Ballet and martial arts. Are you trying to tell me the boss is metal twins? No way, this is total BS. The boss would never do something like that.
You get in the elevator and you lose consciousness again. While in limbo, you recall one of Sechenov's rants. You wake up back in the floating city, back with Granny Zina. She casually reveals that Ekaterina is her daughter, which makes Granny Zina your mother-in-law.
Lady, what are you talking about?
She was my daughter, but she was your...
Ekaterina Nechaeva, codename Blesna, member of the Argentum Spec Ops squad. So you must be...
Your mother-in-law, you stupid ignoramus.
You ask where Filatova went, and Granny Zina says you brutally killed her while you were blacked out. Feeling guilty, you contemplate killing yourself, but Granny Zina berates you for not taking responsibility. Charles decides to finally talk to Granny Zina, and they actually happen to know each other.
Cheriton, you devil! You're alive!
In a sense, an evil wizard turned me into polymer goo.
Wait a fucking minute. Are you telling me you've known Granny Zina this whole time?
After some pondering, you realize that there's 2 options you can take. If you decide to quit all of this and leave Facility 3826, Granny Zina and Charles are strongly opposed to this choice.
Are you some scared little bitch?
You're making a mistake, Major!
You accuse Charles of using you, and you rip him out of your glove. You leave the place for good, disappearing from public view. There are accounts of a black polymer substance, which is implied to be Charles who's still alive. This is considered to be the non-canon ending. If you decide to confront Sechenov, you head on over to his office at the main facility. You enter the main hall and find one of the ballerina twins. You battle with her, and she's got some pretty crazy moves. After dealing enough damage, she sits down and you share a moment with her. But she floats up and breaks through the ceiling. You face Sechenov in the main office, who's guarded by the ballerina twins.
You, Larissa, and Zinaida have certainly been busy. But Sergei, I wouldn't have expected you to be quite so gullible, my boy.
Silence! You messed with my head. You wiped my memory. Am I a toy to you like those other people connected to Collective? Who the fuck do you think you are?
Sergei. I can see you're terribly upset.
Sechenov accuses Charles for using you. Instead of just explaining the situation, Sechenov orders the twins to terminate you. While battling the twins, you hear a voice.
Right now.
Katya.
After you defeat the twins, you shoot Sechenov in the stomach. Sechenov finally explains that Charles is actually the bad guy.
He's the one who killed Molotov. Tell me, Jared, did you do the same thing to Dr. Filatova?
Charles was the one that sent you to Limbo, making him responsible for Molotov and Filatova's death. Charles electrocutes you and frees himself from your glove. He then uses some red polymer to claim a body of his own. Charles declares his plan to wipe out the human race to make room for a new polymer-based species.
Your limitations prevent you from seeing the truth. Dumb humans don't want to evolve.
He takes Sechenov's neurotransmitter and consumes his body, but he leaves you alive for some reason. Your mind is sent back to Limbo, where you reunite with Ekaterina, who's taking on the form of one of the ballerina twins. And that's Atomic Heart, condensed. Thanks for watching, comrades.